Tank, the water buffalo. My family had land on which we grew rice. During July to January, the rainy season, the rice field was flooded and only water buffaloes could be used to till the soil. We owned 3 water buffaloes, 1 male and 2 females. One day our male died of old age. My father decided to look for the ideal water buffalo to replace him, a bull that was both a hard worker and a good fighter. Fighting ability was important because tigers raided the herd near the edge of the jungle. Buffaloes born and raised among mountain tribes had the reputation of being excellent fighters, but they were often too fierce, violent, and impatient to handle. On the other hand, buffaloes born and raised in the lowlands were patient and obedient, but they did not make good fighters, for they lived in an area where fierce predators did not exist. Neither type of buffalo would meet my father's needs. However, it was possible to have the ideal buffalo if a young bull had a fierce father from the mountains and a patient mother from the lowlands. This unusual mixture occurred if a fierce mountain bull wandered down to the lowlands and met a female which would bear its offspring. The owner of the female might not know that he had a mixed-blooded calf until the calf grew older and the thickness of its coat indicated the mountain origin of its father. So sometimes a farmer who had more buffaloes than he needed would unwittingly sell a valuable mixed-blooded calf. My father, by a combination of luck and patience, discovered a mixed-blood buffalo at the ranch of a buffalo merchant in a town far below the river and bought it at a good price. I was 6 years old when my father brought the new calf home. He let me give the young buffalo food and water, and sometimes he allowed me to pat its shoulders, but he told me never to approach it when I was alone, for calves were unpredictable. Although they usually obeyed everybody taller than they were, they did not obey small children, and sometimes might hurt them. I listened to my father, but I trusted our calf. I knew he and I would become great friends. Our calf grew into a handsome and powerful buffalo. He not only became the head of our small herd, but he also became the head of all the herds in our hamlet after many ferocious and successful fights with the other males. We named him Tank, because when he hit another male during a fight, he struck as heavily as a tank. One day, a young bull from a nearby hamlet trespassed on Tank's territory and challenged his authority. Tank roared a few times to warn the intruder, but the other buffalo was determined to fight. When we heard Tank's roars, we knew that there was trouble in the field. Everyone in the hamlet rushed to a hill to watch the fight. We could not prevent it, so we stayed on high ground to protect ourselves, for a defeated buffalo would often run to humans to be rescued and, in its panic, trample them. Tank left his herd and faced the arrogant intruder. The other buffaloes stopped eating and waited. Suddenly, the 2 bulls charged and ran into each other head-on. I heard a mighty thud. Both buffaloes fell back. My heart was pounding. It was the first time any of us had ever seen Tank fall back. Tank was the pride of the hamlet, and we would be very ashamed if he lost the fight, or worse, if Tank were killed. Some of our female buffaloes might follow the victorious bull home to the other hamlet, and it would be very hard to bring them back. The 2 buffaloes recovered from the powerful collision and ran at each other again. This time they locked horns and tried to twist and break each other's necks. Next, each pushed the other and tried to overturn him. At first, the intruder sustained Tank's push very well, but then, little by little, he began to lose ground. Tank pushed him farther and farther backward. Unfortunately for the other buffalo, who had fought quite well so far, there was a deep trench behind him. When his 2 hind legs fell into the trench, the animal was helpless. Tank's sharpened horns hit first his neck, then his shoulders, but unlike other buffaloes, this one did not call for help. My father felt sorry for the bull, and he asked my cousin, whom Tank loved the best, to try to stop Tank from killing him. My cousin rushed to Tank's side and called his name. Tank, furious because he was hurt himself, nevertheless listened to my cousin and let him lead him away. The defeated intruder was rescued from the trench and set free, and we never saw or heard from him again. Tank became so famous that people from far away brought females to breed with him. Buffalo thieves also considered him a prize. One day it rained very hard and Tank did not come home. The next morning we went to look for him. We asked a friend who had a hound dog to help us. My father, my cousin, and I, and a few well-armed friends followed the hound and found Tank near a river crossing about 15 kilometers from home, tied to the root of a tree. When we untied Tank, he was very happy and licked everybody who had come to rescue him, but we were puzzled. There was blood scattered all around, but Tank himself was unharmed. And why, if thieves had taken Tank so far from our home, had they finally left him there? Weeks later, these questions were answered. At a local wedding, we heard a drunken man tell the story of how he had been hurt by Tank during his attempt to steal him. First, he and his 2 accomplices had spent many days observing the clothes and mannerisms of my cousin, who took care of Tank and his herd. Then, helped by the pouring rain, which prevented Tank from seeing them clearly, and wearing the same clothes and whistling the same song my cousin did, he approached Tank in the field. When he was close enough, he seized the rope that passed through the buffalo's nose. Tank was helpless. If he resisted, the rope would hurt his sensitive nose badly. With the help of his 2 accomplices, the thief led Tank away. When they reached the river crossing, he loosened the rope so Tank could drink some water. But instead of drinking, Tank hit him with his horns, gashing the man's leg from his knee to his upper thigh. Since the man could not walk, the other thieves had to carry him and leave Tank behind. They knew that we would soon be on the trail with a hound dog. But before they left, they managed to tie Tank's rope to the root of a tree so the angered buffalo couldn't attack them again. When the thief finished his story, one of the wedding guests asked him why he hadn't killed Tank, since Tank had hurt him so badly. The thief answered that to kill a buffalo under any circumstances would bring bad luck. Besides, he admired Tank too much to kill him. He said that if they had succeeded in stealing Tank, they would have been able to sell him for 10 times the price of an ordinary buffalo. Then he added that sometimes he still came to our hamlet just to have a look at the magnificent bull. No other bull was intelligent enough to fool him, a man of many years' experience as a buffalo thief. When asked if he would attempt to steal Tank again, he said no, because this time he would be risking his life for sure. He was right. My father had removed the rope passing through Tank's nose, just in case anyone tried to steal Tank again. To our surprise, we learned we did not need the rope to command Tank. He continued to till the soil and guard the herd. We commanded Tank orally now. He quickly learned the meaning of left, right, and stop, and did exactly what my cousin wanted while working in the field. When my cousin put crops on his back and said go, he would walk straight home by himself. And at home, after we had unloaded the crops and said go, he would return to the field. Other buffaloes might be able to do the same job, but not as well as Tank. Most of them could not resist the green grass that bordered the path leading home. When they lingered to eat, they would be late for their tasks. Or sometimes on their way to the field, they would see a female buffalo and would stay around and forget everything. But Tank was so exact about his work that one day an angry housewife said she wished her husband would be as dependable as Tank. My cousin also trained Tank to fight jungle cats. He made a stuffed tiger with straw and old linen and simulated a tiger attack from different angles. He taught Tank to roll over, for without this trick a buffalo was helpless if a tiger or a panther jumped on its back. But a well-trained buffalo could make a tiger jump away by rolling over, or crush it under its weight. And every morning, my cousin attached a razor-sharp knife to each of Tank's horns before he let him go to pasture on the edge of the jungle. One afternoon, all the buffaloes began roaring. Everyone rushed around the pasture. Hunters blew their hunting horns, and hunting dogs raced out of the houses to follow their masters. When we reached the pasture, we saw all the adult buffaloes forming a circle to protect their young, and Tank, apart from them, was fighting with a huge tiger. As we approached, the tiger quit the fight and limped back into the jungle. We examined Tank and found blood on his horns. There was blood scattered all around and the ground, too. But it was the tiger that had been badly hurt, not Tank. Tank had only a few scratches on his neck. After this tangle with the tiger, Tank never had to till the soil again. Other inhabitants of the hamlet told my father that if his 2 other buffaloes were not enough to till the land he owned, they would send theirs to help. Tank's only responsibility now was to guard the hamlet herd during the dry season.